Most preppers obsess over gear lists and food storage. But here's what nobody tells you. The difference between surviving and not surviving a crisis has almost nothing to do with what you own. It's about following 11 unspoken rules that separate people who make it through from those who don't. And I'm going to be straight with you. Rule number 9 is so counterintuitive that even experienced preppers get it backwards, and it costs them everything. In the survival world, people love to talk about equipment, knives, radios, bug out bags, generators, solar panels. But when you actually look at real disasters, hurricanes, blackouts, economic crises, supply shortages, something interesting appears. The people who do well aren't always the ones with the most gear. They're the ones who understand how crises actually unfold. Over the years, I've spent studying preparedness, reading survivor accounts, and testing small scenarios in my own life. Certain patterns keep repeating themselves. Not flashy tricks, not movie-style survival tactics, but quiet rules that shape how people behave when normal life stops working. Today we're going through 11 of those rules. These are the principles that matter when the power goes out, the store's empty, and the systems everyone depends on start failing. Let's start with rule number 1. Your best gear is invisibility. One of the biggest mistakes people make in preparedness is wanting to look prepared. You see it everywhere. Military backpacks, tactical clothing, vehicles covered in survival decals, social media posts showing off stockpiles. In normal life, that might feel impressive. In a crisis, it's dangerous. Imagine a prolonged power outage 3 days in. Stores are empty. Gas stations aren't working. People are starting to panic. Then someone walks down the street wearing tactical gear and carrying a large survival backpack. What message does that send? It says, this person has resources. And in desperate situations, resources attract attention. Sometimes the best advantage you can have is not standing out at all. This idea is often called the gray man principle. Blend in. Look normal. Move like everyone else. Your emergency supplies shouldn't scream survival gear. A bug-out bag that looks like a school backpack is far safer than one covered in military webbing. The same goes for your vehicle. The more ordinary it looks, the less attention it draws. Preparedness isn't about broadcasting strength, it's about quietly reducing risk. The best prepared people often look like the least prepared. Rule 2. The 72-hour window changes. Everything. In most disasters, something very predictable happens. At first, people assume everything will go back to normal. Day 1 is denial. The power will come back, supplies will arrive, authorities will fix it. Day 2 is uncertainty. People begin to worry, stores start running out, lines grow longer. But day 3 is when the tone changes. That's when desperation starts appearing. The reason is simple. Most households only have a few days of food, water, and basic supplies. Once those run out, people start making decisions they wouldn't normally make. History shows this pattern again and again. Hurricane Katrina, major winter storms, large blackouts. The first 72 hours are the most important window you have. It's when roads are still somewhat open. It's when people are still relatively calm. It's when you can still make decisions without chaos surrounding you. If you need to relocate, secure supplies, or lock down your home, the time to do it is early. Waiting until everyone else realizes how serious the situation is often means competing with thousands of other people doing the same thing. Preparedness isn't just about supplies, it's about timing. Rule 3. Water comes before everything. People often focus heavily on food storage. Rice, beans, canned goods, food matters, but water matters far more. The human body can survive weeks without food, but without water, things deteriorate quickly. In normal conditions, most people need at least 1 gallon per day just for drinking. Add cooking and basic hygiene, and the number climbs to 2 or even 3 gallons. That adds up fast. For a family of 4, even a single week can require dozens of gallons. This is why storing water is important, but storage alone isn't enough. A real plan includes multiple ways to obtain and purify water. Filters, boiling methods, purification tablets, knowing local water sources, Many people never think about where their nearest natural water source actually is. A creek, a pond, a rain collection point. In an emergency, knowledge like that becomes extremely valuable. Water is not just one supply among many. It's the foundation that everything else depends on. Rule 4: calories are currency. In survival situations, energy becomes a form of currency. Every movement has a cost. Walking long distances, carrying heavy supplies, chopping wood, all of it burns calories. In normal life, we don't think about that much because food is easy to replace. But in a prolonged crisis, food becomes limited. If you're burning more energy than you're consuming, your body will eventually weaken. That's why experienced survivalists focus heavily on efficiency, not doing more work, doing the right amount of work. Simple choices can matter. Organizing your space so tools are easy to reach. Planning tasks so you don't make multiple unnecessary trips. Resting when there is nothing urgent to accomplish. In survival, conserving energy can be just as important as obtaining supplies. Sometimes the smartest action is simply doing less. Rule 5: the fire paradox. Fire has always been a symbol of survival, warmth, cooking, light. But fire has a second side that many people ignore. It also reveals your presence. Smoke can be seen from far away during the day. At night, flames and light can be visible from even greater distances. And the smell of smoke travels surprisingly far in still air. That doesn't mean fire should never be used. It means it should be used intentionally. If you are in an isolated area, fire might be perfectly safe. But in populated areas during a crisis, it can draw attention you don't want. There are ways to reduce visibility. Small fires, using dry wood, building fires in sheltered locations. Some survival techniques even involve underground fire pits designed to hide flames and reduce smoke. The key lesson is simple: fire is powerful. But like many tools in survival, it comes with trade-offs. Rule 6: silence is a skill. In quiet environments, sound travels much farther than most people realize. A normal speaking voice can carry hundreds of feet. Metal tools clanking together can be heard even farther. At night, when everything else is silent, small noises become surprisingly loud. This matters in survival situations where attention can become a risk. Noise reveals activity. Cooking sounds reveal food. Generators reveal fuel. Even casual conversation can reveal the size of a group. Learning to move quietly is an overlooked survival skill. Placing items gently, avoiding unnecessary noise, being aware of surfaces like gravel, dry leaves, or metal objects. The same principle applies to light. Flashlights, phone screens, and indoor lighting can be visible from long distances in darkness. Sometimes the safest place to be is simply unnoticed, and silence helps make that possible. Rule 7: always have a second exit. Preparedness is largely about avoiding single points of failure. This applies to equipment, plans, and even physical locations. If you rely on only one solution, you're vulnerable if that solution fails. A simple example is your home. Most houses technically have multiple exits, but many people block secondary exits with storage, furniture, or clutter. In an emergency, that can become a serious problem. The same idea applies to evacuation routes. If a highway becomes blocked, do you know alternative roads? If your planned destination becomes unreachable, do you have a backup location? Redundancy is one of the most important principles in survival planning. A common saying in preparedness circles is, 1 is none, 2 is 1. If you only have one way to solve a problem, you don't really have a solution yet. Rule 8: people are the most unpredictable factor. Natural disasters follow physical rules. Storms behave in certain ways. Infrastructure fails in predictable patterns. Human behavior is much harder to predict. During crises, people respond very differently. Some become cooperative and helpful, others become aggressive or desperate, and it's often impossible to know which is which at first. In the early stages of many disasters, communities pull together. Neighbors help neighbors. But as shortages grow and uncertainty increases, tensions can rise. Understanding this shift can help you make better decisions about when to be visible and when to keep a lower profile. Preparedness isn't about assuming the worst in people, It's about recognizing that stress changes behavior and planning accordingly. Rule 9. Routine can become a weakness. In everyday life, routines are useful. They create structure and efficiency, but in unstable situations, routines can become predictable patterns. If someone observes that you collect water at the same time each day, they know exactly when to expect you. If you follow the same route repeatedly, someone could anticipate your movements. In uncertain environments, variation adds safety. Changing schedules, taking different routes, avoiding obvious patterns, this doesn't mean living in constant paranoia. It simply means understanding that in certain situations, being predictable gives others information, and information can be used. Rule 10. Patience is an underrated survival skill. One of the most difficult things during a crisis is resisting the urge to act immediately. Stress pushes people toward quick decisions, but quick decisions are not always good decisions. Sometimes the safest choice is to wait. Observe. Let a situation unfold before reacting. If you hear distant conflict, running toward it rarely improves your safety. If a crowded store looks chaotic, forcing your way in might create more risk than reward. Patience allows time for better opportunities to appear. It also prevents mistakes caused by panic. Survival isn't a race. Often it's a test of endurance and judgment, and patience helps both. Rule 11. Your mind is your most important tool. Gear can break, supplies can run out, plans can fail, but the ability to think clearly under stress is what keeps people moving forward. Survival is as much psychological as it is physical. People who maintain focus, adaptability, and determination tend to perform far better than those who panic or give up. Mental resilience can be strengthened long before a crisis happens. Facing small challenges, learning new skills, practicing self-control during uncomfortable situations, they prove that difficulty can be managed. And when real problems appear, that mindset becomes incredibly valuable. In the end, survival often comes down to one simple thing: the decision to keep going. Those are the 11 quiet rules of survival that rarely appear on gear lists, but often make the biggest difference when things go wrong. To recap quickly, invisibility is often safer than standing out. The first 72 hours of a crisis are critical. Water always comes before food. Energy should be spent carefully. Fire has benefits and risks. Silence can protect you. Always have a backup plan. People can be unpredictable under pressure. Routine can create vulnerability. Patience prevents costly mistakes. And above all, your mindset determines how well you adapt when circumstances change. Preparedness isn't about fear. It's about understanding reality and taking small steps ahead of time so you're not forced into desperate decisions later. The goal isn't to live in constant worry. It's simply to be ready enough that when something unexpected happens, you already have a foundation to work from. Stay prepared, stay aware, and I'll see you in the next video.